Get ready. Hold tight. It's
Hold on to
happening.
your hats, boys.
Libos.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
A little bit older than you.
I'm not touching this topic. I'm not touching it.
Yeah. I think we can go there and get a positive result.
I want to go.
If we play a night game, he has to turn the bloodlines on.
How poor do we have to be before his back over? How much blood from this stone does he have to get?
The Wednesday Week.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week. This time it's Hello from the Other Side, our preview chat with our upcoming opponents, another podcast. So Michael from Wise Men Say, how are we doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm doing good, mate. Thanks for asking. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I tell you what, I'm a lot better for Sunday, after Sunday, and yourself as well. Our respective teams had two great opening games. A 2-0 win for yourself, Michael, and I said it on our podcast last night, 4-0 thrashing of Plymouth, just on a quick one, that first impressions on your team, obviously, at the weekend?
Yeah, I think pleasantly surprised. We summed up quite well. I think we'll touch on it a little bit more later, but we've only signed 4 new players and 2 of them have been backup goalkeepers. So kind of you go into the season when we had a very poor second half of the season, and we finished 16th in the league. You go into that game, and Cardiff, they're not the best team in the league. I think it was quite evident as to why they had the lowest number of goals from open play last season. But, you know, it's never easy to go away from home on the opening day. And I think it's about as comfortable a 2-0 win as you'll see in the second half. Cardiff had a lot of the ball. They had over 60% of it, but they didn't do a great deal with it. Our defence never really looked troubled. And our kind of defensive shape looked a lot better. We pressed from the front really well, but it wasn't too reckless. We still had good solidity behind the ball. And then when you've got a player with the quality of Jack Clark, who's still at the club for now at least, you've always got that chance of nicking that second goal late on. And the more open the game got, I think the more I kind of expected us to take the ball by the horns a little bit and get that second goal. So, yeah, very, very good start for us. And hopefully it gives us a good platform to build on.
Yeah, definitely. You did mention it. You touched on it there. Obviously, in February, you got rid of Michael Beale, and that second half of the season. To our glee, obviously, the last game of the season, we came to your place and obviously won 2-0. It was a great game, and obviously cemented our place in the championship. Over the summer, you've had a bit of a. Has it been turmoil? Because obviously it took a while for you to get a new manager in. And please forgive me, I'm notorious for not pronouncing names. So please, Roger Lebris. I've got it here in front of me. Is it Lebris? Lebris?
Legis Lebris.
Lebris.
I mean, to be fair, the Macam accent doesn't lend itself to French very well, I don't find. So I'll be the best stab at it there. But my first impressions on him, Again, it was a little bit up in the air because you don't have a huge body of work of what he's kind of achieved in the game. He's been very good as kind of like a youth development coach, but he's 48 years old and he's only had one job, and that was at Lorient. And in the first season, I think he got the highest position that ever finished in the club's history in Ligue 1. And then the second season, they got relegated. And when you bring in a manager who's like used to losing every week, it's not ideal, obviously. And my biggest worry was that Lorient conceded the highest number of goals in the league last season. And we had and our defence is arguably a bit of a weak spot in the team. So my first impression was of course, you're always going to give a new guy a chance, but there was quite a bit of scepticism, I'd say, because we kind of very publicly courted Will Still for quite some time. And obviously he's got a huge reputation in the game, was doing great things. And it would have been, I think, after the kind of doldrums of last season, it would have kind of reignited the club quite a lot. But I wouldn't say it's been like turmoil. I think it's just kind of been like almost status, because I think with Lebris, I've been impressed when he's come in, because even in the pre-season games, you could kind of tell what style of football he was trying to put across. It very much is all about kind of like the high press, and he likes to play the ball interchangeably between like the wingers and the fullback as he goes up the pitch, and we'll move up the pitch with speed, but we do it with kind of like quite like intricate passing, which is good to see if there's a lot more purpose for our play. So I think he deserves an opportunity to succeed. And what I've seen in pre-season and what I've seen on Saturday has given me kind of like quite a lot of hope for the future. However, my biggest concern is, are we going to give him the correct tools to succeed in his role?
Yeah, I mean the manager situation you mentioned there, Will Still, which he's been in the news for whatever reason, Andy, for the last 12 months, doing great things, and also if you believe the rumor mill, our own Danny Rohl was mentioned once or twice by I think quite a few of your local journalists. Was it anything in that? I know he signed a new long-term contract with us, and obviously we're delighted with that. But was it any some serious talk, or was it just the papers?
From our side, I don't think anyone particularly got excited about the rumours. I don't mean that because we didn't want Danny Rohl. I mean that because we just didn't think there's any way after the momentum we finished last season with the Sheffield Wednesday and how lucky obviously is there. I think like it would have taken like a hell of a financial incentive for him to come, and not only financial incentive, but a real kind of display of intent. We were aiming for like automatic promotion this season. And I think Danny Rohl, what he does show is like the value of a coach because of how good like a good coach can make a difference. Because last season when we beat you 3-0 at Hillsborough, like it was one of the most kind of like just tepid performances I've seen from an opposition. Like I remember we won the game 3-0 and we didn't even win it like at the counter. It was one of them. I wasn't down that night, but I was watching it in the pub with quite a few of my mates. And the second half, we were just having kind of like a nice catch up. The game was like kind of on in the background, which like for like fanatical Sunderland fans was quite a weird kind of experience. But no, I don't think I ever thought there was anything tremendously in the Danny Rohl rumours. But he's absolutely been invaluable for you guys.
He has, yeah, and obviously, Wednesday fans listening and watching this, they know how we feel of the podcast, and probably 99% of Wednesday fans at the minute as well. Even I'd say 100%, you wouldn't hear anything at the moment. A bad word about Danny, and hey, as long as it may continue, I think he's doing fantastic for us. You mentioned obviously your the owners backing your new manager, and to me, and don't obviously no disrespect to you guys, I don't know a great deal of your transfers ins and outs apart from one player, but he's not really been backed, has he? At the moment, don't get me wrong, there's still a couple of weeks left, but. Are you happy with your transfer business at the minute in the summer, or are you just waiting for 2-3 more to come in?
I think that it's got to be definitely waiting for 2 or 3 more at least, because I think if the transfer window was closing tonight, I'd be very concerned. So we're about to play pressing off end about 45 minutes, and Labree's made 11 changes before the game. And to be quite honest, you look at some of that 11 and you think if they had to start a championship game, I'd be frightened. You know, I mean, we've got 2 lads in the back 4, like Joe Anderson, he was on loan at Shrewsbury last season, didn't pull up any real like trees. Zach Johnson, young lad, very, very promising, got a lot of potential, but again, he was on loan at Dundalk a couple of months ago in the League of Ireland. And if them lads are the ones that have got to fill in the championship game, then that's going to be a bit concerning. So in terms of our business, I think Alan Brown is an excellent signing. Yeah. You know, I'm not obsessed with kind of like you've got to spend money to sign good players. If freebies are out there who are going to improve the team, I'm all for it. And you can tell the difference he's made because, as you probably know about Sunderland, we do have like the youngest squad in the league by quite some distance. And we now look at players like Trey Hume and Dan Neil, who are kind of in the very early 20s themselves as being like experienced heads in comparison to some of the players. So I think the fact that he was Preston's captain, he's been there for a number of years, he's been around the block, that's going to be invaluable to our midfield. However, I don't think it solves the issue that we don't really have a natural holding midfielder. And as a result, I think second half of last season, we saw some very negative football from Sunderland, which was just the opposite of what we had under Mowbray, because I think that Bale and Dodds just simply didn't trust the back four to be protected by the kind of holding midfielders we played there, because Dan Neil, he's an exceptional young talent. So I think Echo is a good player as well, but they're not natural holding midfielders. They play a lot better further forward. And it's the same with Alan Brown. So we haven't addressed that issue. But I think even more concerningly, I think it's just if anybody knows anything about Sunderland, you'll know that we need a striker. And it's all we've banged on about in our podcast for coming up to 18 months now. I mean, because there's a bit of a misconception that, we just simply haven't signed any. But the issue being we signed 4 last summer and they were all absolutely abysmal. Like we scored a grand total of 3 goals between the 4 of them last season. Wow. You know, one of them was a young lad on loan, Mason Burstow from Chelsea, scored once. Rusin, who was arguably quite an experienced player, but when he played in like Ukraine, he tended to play kind of like more of a wing forward rather than like a natural kind of through the middle centre forward. And then we had like Lewis Amir came from Benfica B, again 19-year-old, like never really played a great deal of men's football. And then Elijah Mayenda, who last season was kept off Hibernia's bench when he went on loan there by Adam Lafondra, who's just signed for FC United Manchester. And we start Mayenda on Saturday down Cardiff. So this is kind of the frustrating thing from my perspective is that I don't think we're a million miles off having like a really good side that can challenge for the playoffs. But it's just them kind of ingredients that time after time we just don't seem to learn from our previous mistakes. So it'll be remain to see what happens in the rest of the window before I kind of evaluate it properly.
Yeah, I mean, we all, as Wednesday fans, we all know one of the players that you have signed is Jan Poveda, who was obviously from Leeds on loan at Sheffield Wednesday from January. He did only play, I think it was 11 games for us. He limped out injured. We tried to bring him back too early, and he limped out again at QPR, and then that was him for his rest of his loan. A lot of Wednesday fans were really hopeful, looking forward to maybe getting him back. And obviously, we saw a picture of him stood outside the training ground. You know, like was it 12 hours before it announced or something with a shirt? So it was like, yeah, that's dead and buried. What do Sunderland fans make to the signing of Poveda?
I'm not going to lie, I've not seen a huge amount from him. I've seen obviously clips from when he was at you guys, and he was a very, very promising player. And I'm not against the signing again on like a freebie because it might bolster the squad, but I think the wings are an area that we're relatively well stocked in. So again, it's like kind of like a good high potential player, gets injured quite a lot. But I think from what I've read from your guys on like your forums and that he did seem to be highly rated, and you were quite disappointed not to get him. So I think he can make an impact. But again, this is another thing we don't tend to do. He's not a player who can go straight into the first team. So, for example, he's not even on the bench tonight because he's still not match fit because he was 4 weeks behind his pre-season preparations. Yeah. So again, we're looking to kind of like probably the first international break before we see him like play for the first team, which that's not like kind of me, that's just my guess basically. Based on he's 4 weeks behind and he signed 2 or 3 weeks ago and he didn't play any of the pre-season games. You know, he's going to have to play maybe some under-21 football even to get himself up to the pace. But again, it's not a signing I'm against, but them signings are only good signings if they complement kind of like real key priority signings.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it a couple of times. Obviously, mentioned the manager Poveda, but there was a sniff the last minute for Ike Ugbo. You mentioned you were after a striker. He said all the right things signing for us. There was only one team to come back to, you know. But hey, it was in the market between 2.5, 3 million, I think it was. Once again, was it anything seriously? Have you got that sort of money? Obviously, you've said you've signed a couple of goalkeepers on free and a couple of outfield players free. Has Sunderland got the money if needed? Well,
I mean, last season we got £10 million from the sale of Ross Stewart, and it's debatable whether that's been reinvested properly. I'd argue not. We do spend money, but again, I'm not sure like how well it's spent because, so for example, I think Rusin, he costs like more than 2 million, and he's not really had like much of an impact since he's come to the club. But I think that it's a difficult one because are we going to go and spend £20 million on a player? Absolutely not. That's just not going to happen. But I do think that there is a budget there. It's just a case of like the priority of where we allocate it. I mean, obviously we've got like a multi-billionaire owner, which I know that doesn't always equate to the club having money, but it's not like we're kind of on the brink of breaking any kind of profit and sustainability rules or anything like that. So from a fan point of view, it is quite frustrating because Sunderland, without wishing to sound like arrogant, we're not really a club that I think should be looking to kind of sustain in the Championship. For me, I'm not like, as I say, I'm not arrogant enough to say like that we have a divine right to get promoted or be in the playoffs, but at least I want to see that that's the ambition and that's what we're all kind of like driving towards. And I'm not sure at times whether that is the case. I'm not saying we don't want to get promoted, but I think from the ownership's point of view, it's like, right, we might get promoted in 5 years, whereas ours is like, right, at the next opportunity, we really want to go up because I think we've seen when momentum's behind a club like Sunderland, it can be quite difficult to stop. Like we got in the playoffs under Tony Mowbray in our first season in the Championship, and that's the thing. Like last year, we really stagnated. So this season, it's a little bit difficult actually to gauge what would be a successful season. You know, because we could improve significantly and still not get anywhere near the playoffs. So it is a question of kind of what this young team can bring to the table, and hopefully they'll be better for the experience they picked up last year.
Yeah, you mentioned like the Sunderland, they are a Premier League team. They are. You're in there for quite a while. As fans, that's where you want to get back to. And obviously, we were the same in League One. We wanted to get out straight away. Obviously, no divine right. Failed at the first attempt. Got there just on the second attempt. But you want that as fans, don't you? And like you said, for you as fans have got that ambition for your club, and you do see in the summer that you've only signed 4 players up to now, obviously at the time of recording, and all being freebies. I mean, we're the king of freebies at the minute. We can't afford. I think we've spent money on Ugbo, like I say, anywhere between 2.5, 3 million. We spent on Valerie, which right back. I don't know, 600 grand maybe. So we're not spending money. We can't afford the money, but that's where you got to go. You got to go for the freebies, and that's what, if you're at, that's where you're at. We'll go. Obviously, you touched on it on the weekend's result against Cardiff, 2-0. Like I say, it was a great start, and we did as well. Like, we had a great start. It's a difficult place to go, Cardiff, and you got a good away win. Was there anything that from that match, and it's the first game, I know I've looked at your pre-season games, a few mixed results there. I mean, 2-2 against Marseille, 2-1 against Bradford. I don't know if you played the youngsters or whatever. It's a bit misleading. It's all fitness for me. Was there anything against Cardiff that you were concerned at, or thinking that may be an issue for you in the coming season, or should I say on Sunday?
Just basically, just as I say, that issue we've got with not having an experienced centre forward with a bit of know-how. I mean, Mayenda, he had an absolutely golden opportunity where he got it put on a plate for him, and the keeper made a very good save, don't get me wrong, but he's kind of like less than 8 yards out, and he's got pretty much a whole goal to aim at. He's put in the only place really the keeper can save it, and it was one of them, when someone's one-on-one, but you're still not like confident he's going to finish it. It was very much that feeling, so that's definitely still a weak spot. But to be fair to him, he's a young lad, and I think he's got quite a lot of potential. And if he was coming off the bench quite a lot this season, I wouldn't hate it. He's definitely got something about him, but it's just a question of delivering. On Saturday, our defence wasn't really tested all that much. Patterson didn't really have anything to do. However, my concern would still be if we play against like a good informed side, will then potential frailties be exposed quite a bit more, because we've still got Dan Ballard out injured from the pre-season injury, and 09 and Adji Elise are quite a new partnership. And while they both played well on Saturday, again against a team who I think I actually think, I'm not just saying this to kind of butter you guys up, but I think you could be dark horses to finish like a lot higher up the table this season, with the manager and the momentum behind the club. It remains to be seen whether we will stand up to a more like substantial test, and then we've got Burnley coming after we play you. So
they look good. I saw a little bit last night. They look good against Luton for theirs. Yeah, I think obviously with last season and this season we're 7 on the spin, 1. So we're banging form. If you take out the pre-season, we had a really good pre-season as well. So yeah, we're a team, and it's great. The difference that a year makes from having Cisco Munoz, and I think we had 11 players in the pre-season last season, to having a 10 players signed, 11 now, but 10 players signed really early, well before the end of the transfer, with the looking more to coming in and getting some out of the door. It's pretty. We are, as a fan base, we are buoyant. Don't get me wrong. When I went up to, I didn't go last season. I was away, but the horror of the 5-0 and obviously the playoff, it still burns in my memory that it was awful. 4-0 half time, and that was it. It was a goner. But tickets went on sale on yesterday for Wednesday fans. I know it's pretty late on. Sold out in the first day. Just over 2,000. I know a lot of Wednesday fans were a bit, bloody hell, they've got 48,000 seater. We've only got 2,000. What's the ticket situation there? Is that just something for certain clubs, or is that the new allocation for Sunderland? Because I know you have got you could have quite a big away allocation.
I'm no expert on this matter, to be honest. Like it could be a kind of a segregation issue as well. I don't know the kind of nuances of like ticket allocations. But I think it's unusual for teams to kind of get more than kind of what you guys have got. Doesn't surprise us to hear that you snapped them up so quickly. You know, we're very much like that as well, with particularly the closer games that go like hotcakes, and you've got to have a massive amount of points to get them. What I will say, I think traditionally, especially in the League One days, we average still very impressively kind of around 30,000. So therefore, I could see the argument a lot more then of like, look, there's like kind of 15,000 empty seats here. Like, why are we getting such a limited allocation? But since we got back the Championship, I mean, we've averaged 40,000 in the last 2 seasons. So it's not a case of like we've got like tens of thousands of empty seats sat waiting. You know, like we are kind of selling the tickets ourselves. So that's kind of the answer. I know it's a bit of a fence sitter, but
No, it is. We don't see that. Obviously, the weekend we sold 29,500. Last season we sold out, I think, 2 or 3 games. So we are like mid-20s on a. I think we can get 33,000 is the top end, or just over at Hillsborough. So we are creeping up our attendances as much as you'd like to look at the ticket prices for our club and for any club really. The ticket prices going up is ridiculous, but we still managed to get Wednesdayites through the doors, and it's fantastic. As much as you can say as well for your ground when it's full, always love a full ground, home and away.
No, and I think it's one of those things. I think it's absolutely disgraceful. Like I've said, the ticket price that you guys are being charged, and I think this is part of the issue, kind of because there's people like me and yourself who, no matter what the prices are, as long as we can reasonably afford it or even unreasonably afford it, we'll be there. And I think with Sunderland and Sheffield Wednesday, we're both kind of have like a hardcore that will go no matter what, you know, which is kind of, I'd say, like for clubs like us, I think our hardcore is kind of like a bigger percentage of the fan base than what it is for like other clubs. Yeah. So I think the owners do kind of take advantage for that. I mean, Sunderland, one thing I'll say about us is we have fantastic season ticket prices, absolutely fantastic, great value for money, but the match day is creeping up and up. And now you get to the point where you're talking kind of mid like 30, like 35, 36 quid for kind of like an average home game in the Championship, which I know you're probably saying, oh, that would be all right for us. But
I know, we do that.
I know, but the point I'm making is that just because it's not quite as extortionate as what you guys are doesn't mean it's right. You know what I mean? It's like the Northeast. It's like I don't want to kind of go down this route too much, but there's like obviously it's not in a great place, kind of like from a socio-economic perspective, and there's a cost of living crisis going on, and you just think to yourself like football, it's a release, and it's like should be such a family occasion for fans, and I just think it's wrong the way it's gone. That kind of now ticket prices that don't make up like that much of a percentage of a club's revenue, you know. So for me, I just think to myself, why do they need to be so high?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think some of our viewers will put me on this, but I think our most expensive just match day up on the gate is £56 for an adult. 50 exactly. I know. Absolutely ridiculous. I know a friend of mine. He's not a season ticket holder. He bought one for the Leeds game, so that's like for a week on Friday. For him and his elderly dad, I think it was 90 odd quid for 2 tickets. It's like, really, come on. This is not what this podcast is about. We're not going to, because I'm sure 99% of fans will agree with us about ticket prices, but all the clubs will say is that's what they are. That's what, if you want to, and our chairman famously once said, if you want to see, was it something like Premier League football, he's going to pay the prices, but we're not in the Premier League. So it's a mute argument for me, but hey, then you get 29,500 turning up on a Sunday for the first game of the season. He's sat there rubbing his hands. So he's charging 50 quid a ticket and people are still turning up. So, but you love your club, don't you? Like you mentioned, Michael. Luckily, I've got enough points to go away, and I do virtually every game I can do. I'm lucky like that, but not a lot of people aren't. So, Sheffield Wednesday. I don't get me wrong, I've not seen a great deal of Sunderland, and I'm not expecting you to have seen a great deal of us. Until Sunday, obviously. But what's your thoughts? I know we have been, because of our manager, he has been in the spotlight a little bit, and obviously he did a great stint at the Euros as well. If you didn't see it, he's a great-looking guy and he spoke very well, but he's not for sale. He signed a contract, everyone. So yeah, Sheffield Wednesday. What's your thoughts, Michael, on us Owls?
Yeah, like I say, I actually think you guys could be kind of dark horses to challenge for the playoff places. You guys might think I'm just being a bit hyperbolic based on kind of the way you ended the season, because I know I've got a tendency to kind of downplay Sunderland's chances, so I'm just assuming some of you guys might be like that. But the way I look at it, it's what Danny Rohl achieved with an absolutely like abysmal squad really in many areas last season. From where he took them to how he ended the season was nothing short of extraordinary. He's clearly an excellent tactician. I watched your game on Sunday and I love the intensity in which he played with. Some very good attacking football, and it's one of them like occasions where sometimes you watch a game of football and you look at the stats and you think that just does not back up what I've seen with my own eyes. Sunday was an occasion where I was like, yeah, every bit of it. You know what I mean? Like the touches in the opposition box was somewhat ridiculous. So I've just looked at their 64. You guys had compared to Plymouth's 8. You had 31 shots, XG of nearly 5. Like it's just ridiculous numbers. And I know there's a caveat of obviously it's Plymouth's, it's Wayne Rooney's Plymouth, but it was, as I say, it was such an emphatic performance. And 4-0, as I say, certainly it didn't flatter you one little bit. So I would definitely back you to have a very good season. My only kind of doubt of that would be if Rohl does so well that even though he's just signed a contract, that he gets interest from a higher level or abroad. I think that's the only thing that's stopping you from having a good season. But even if you don't make the playoffs, I'd seriously suggest you'd be kind of like strong, like top half finish.
Don't say that. Don't say that's the thing that a lot of Wednesdayites are going to bed shivering at night, because obviously we didn't, but obviously the Championship lost their first manager, didn't they? Ryan Lowe, and there's going to be lots more, especially Premier League as well. So, we don't want it, but money talks, and he's even with his interviews with Sheffield Wednesday, he's a very ambitious guy, young guy. So why not? And I think in my heart, I'll not speak for everybody, but obviously in my heart, if we keep him this season and he goes on to bigger, better things, then good luck to him. But I hope we keep him for the next 2-3 years, and he does really build something at Sheffield Wednesday. Michael, I'm going to trouble you for a little bit of a prediction and how you think things are going to go on Sunday. It's a 12 o'clock kickoff on Sky. Less we say about the Sky TV fixtures and messing us about is thing, but Sunderland on a Sunday it's not too bad.
No.
But 12 o'clock Sunday. What's your thoughts for Sunderland against Sheffield Wednesday?
I think it'll be an entertaining game because I think both teams now want to play a front foot attacking football. I think both teams press really well, so I think it'll be a bit of kind of like when both teams are trying to play off from the back, will be an element of like both teams winning the ball high up the pitch and getting turnovers. As I say, it'll be an entertaining game, and I think I'll reflect that in the scoreline. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
Oof, 2-2 draw. Plenty of goals. I like it. Really impressed with us on Sunday about the pressing. We looked really fit to a man as well. I know it was 4-0, but I think you couldn't, even the goalkeeper, I know he didn't do a great deal, but you couldn't really fault anyone that played and started on Sunday. The pressing was really good. Plymouth tried to press as well, but just not effective enough. And I don't know, there was a lot made of it being Wayne Rooney's Plymouth, and he got all the pelters rather than Sheffield Wednesday got all the plaudits in the bigger media, shall we say? Obviously, local media know what they're talking about, so they got it right. But I'm really excited about this. It is only the second game, but it is a real test for us coming up against an established Premier League club.
Certainly not team.
Certainly not team, but you've got experience there that you've said you've been there, and you can't take anything out of your last 20 games of last season. Different animal now. I'm pretty positive about. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Sheffield Wednesday win. I think for me, unfortunately for you, Michael, sorry about that, mate. But I think I've got to be positive. It's looking good at minute Hillsborough. On the pitch, on the pitch is looking great. Still a long way to go off the pitch, but on the pitch is going great. Michael, just your parting thing, your podcast, Wise Men Say, what you got coming up? Just give you a bit of intro to the people who want to listen in when your next thing is to review your loss that you're going to talk about.
So what we've got coming up this week, we've got either tomorrow night or Thursday, we'll do a preview of the Sheffield Wednesday game. And then on Sunday, the format we usually do, we have a reaction podcast, which is kind of just recorded live in the pub, and it's very kind of raw, emotional kind of analysis of the game that you've just seen. And then on the Monday night, it'll be a bit more of a considered kind of sometimes more rational analysis of the game on our kind of review pod. So we typically structure it like 3 podcasts a week like that. But over the years, we have done some like specials as well. And we always do kind of some live shows in and around Sunderland as well throughout the season with ex-players and that. So lots of good stuff. And thanks very much for having me on, mate. Appreciate it.
No problem. I know. Thank you for just joining me and giving us a little bit of an insight into Sunderland and how they're thinking and how their pre-season transfers going. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Everyone, thank you very much for watching, listening. As always, if you like what you're seeing and hearing, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Helps all the algorithm thingy bobs, all the nerds tell me. So thank you very much. And enjoy Sunday. Not you, Michael. I'm talking to the Wednesdayites here, mate. So cheers, everyone. Thank you very much.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday week. Bringing you football analysis.
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there for podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday Week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your podcast.